Hi, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to quickly talk on the different technologies that reduce reproductive potential. I'm going to post this document into our Google Classroom under the notes section so you can fill it out at leisure. I just want to quickly talk on a few key things so that when you're listening to this after you've written in your notes, you're kind of like, oh, okay, this may make sense. So the first couple things I want to talk about is abstinence, surgical sterilization, and hormonal treatments. I think abstinence is pretty simple to explain, so I'm going to just skip it and kind of talk about the two procedures that can occur. Men and women each can have their own procedure. And as you can see in the women, I spelled tubal wrong, so please fix that in yours. But essentially, guys, tubal ligation, or the tying of a female's tubes, is essentially when their oviducts or their fallopian tubes are cut, and then they tie off the ends or cauterize the ends, and then the sperm can't actually reach the egg. Now, tubal ligation is a lot more of an invasive process for females, as they actually have to go through the abdominal wall and all that and up into the oviducts. It's not a very simple, well, it is simple procedure, but it's a lot more invasive. Women tend to get their tubes tied, for example, if they are having their last baby and they have had a C-section. Then they're already opened up, tie the tubes. Okay. Men, on the other hand, can have something called a vasectomy. Now, a vasectomy essentially is when they take a very small cut, go up into the scrotum, up through the testy, and cut the vas deferens. Okay. Now, there's a couple new procedures with vasectomies. It used to be that they could cauterize the ends or tie the ends, specifically tying the ends if you wanted to have more children, if you wanted the possibility of a reversal, because you can have that. However, now they have something that's called it's like a plug. Essentially, they insert it into the vas deferens and inflate this plug, and it stops the sperm from being able to go up through the vas deferens and to be ejaculated out. So then there's no cutting involved. Now, how common that is, I don't know. I just know that it is a possibility to do. Hormonal treatments, guys, is probably the biggest one I want to touch on really quickly, because hormonal treatments is the one that has the biggest effect. Now, unfortunately, hormonal treatments are only available for females currently. Male birth control, as they would say, has been in the works for a very, very, very long time. I will also post a very interesting Netflix episode that you can watch at if you would like. But essentially, male reproductive birth control, I should say, has been in the works since the 60s, and still they make leaps and bounds, but we have never seen one. Female birth control, on the other hand, is a very common thing to see. Now, there's lots of different types. There's oral contraceptives, injections, implants, and well, there's two types of implants, okay? But the whole idea behind the birth control, whatever type of birth control it ends up being, is it's trying to mimic the effects of progesterone. We now know progesterone's job is not only to maintain the thickness of the lining, but its biggest job is to stop FSH and LH from being secreted. If our body does not have FSH secreting, then no follicle develops. So if we have no egg developing, then you're not going to ovulate an egg. On top of that, if you're not having LH being released, you're not going to actually ovulate. So therefore, no egg is released. All right. So that is how birth control works. That's why it's super important to take it every day at the same time, one pill for the 3 weeks, because it is a dose of hormones that is actually working against the feedback loop in your body. Now, there's another type of hormonal treatment called the morning after pill, or Plan B. It's essentially a treatment for people that can be taken within 3 days after having intercourse. So the idea is intercourse occurred without protection of some sort, and the person is concerned about pregnancy. So when you take the morning after pill, or Plan B, it delivers a high dose of estrogen to the body with progesterone, and it disrupts the cycle. And what it does is it either prevents or delays ovulation from occurring, because sperm can't last super, super long inside the body. So if you delay ovulation or prevent it, the sperm will eventually die out. Now, unfortunately, sometimes it has happened where fertilization has already occurred and then Plan B is taken. If that's the case, then you can prevent the embryo from implanting in the uterus. Plan B, or the morning after pill, is very effective. I believe it's very effective if taken within 3 days. I've only read the literature. But I've also read that after the 3 days, it's not. So that's kind of the downside to the Plan B. Now, physical and chemical barriers are again stuff that you would normally think of. Male condoms, okay, is probably the biggest one. But what maybe some of you don't know is that female condoms are also something that you can get. You can also get something called a diaphragm that fits over the female cervix, so it's inserted vaginally. Or there's a contraceptive sponge that can be used in conjunction with a spermicide. Now, spermicides are the chemical part of this, and its job is to try to kill the sperm using a jelly, a foam, or a cream. All right. So again, the most common one is the male condom, but there are a lot of others. Now, the last one that I want to touch on really quickly is called a natural planning. Some families use this when they're just not quite ready to have children yet, but they're in a monogamous relationship. They've been with their partner for a long time. If they do end up pregnant, they're like, oh, it's not a huge deal. But what it means is that the couple is tracking their ovulation. Okay. So they're tracking their ovulation from month to month. And when they find that they're the most fertile is within that first week right before she ovulates, a female ovulates, or a day or two after, they'll refrain from having intercourse. Now, the flip side to natural family planning is this can also be used for women who are struggling with infertility to get pregnant. They can track their ovulation through the month. When they're about to ovulate, they can ensure that they have intercourse in order to try and get pregnant. So again, we'll post this into the Google Classroom so you can put them in your notes. I just wanted to quickly talk about them, give you some information, and I hope you have a great day.